Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant. Today we are at the next topic and we are going to discuss the Budapest Gambit decline. So I will try to cover this topic in one more lesson where we will see the remaining lines of Budapest accepted. Today let us understand the lines of declined. These lines are mostly based on my experience and my students as they have faced opponents, because declined you will see that hardly there is any clear-cut theory. And most of the time the declined a Budapest player faces is because of only one factor, that the opponent has not come prepared and suddenly over the board he finds it risky to accept a gambit. Only in one or two cases I faced genuinely prepared opponents who wanted to play the declined line. So I will try to discuss all that and we will see some very interesting ideas, mostly which we may not find in other books or sources. Most of them I have played in my games. I will tell you as and when it happens. So let's get to the position quickly. D4, NF6, C4, E5, and here white can decline in these four ways: knight F3, E3, D5 and knight C3. Let's start with the worst one. Black equalizes very easily in the line knight C3. In fact, he can become marginally better also after ED, Queen D4, knight C6. Development weak attack. Queen goes back. B4. I always use these kind of examples for new students to examine whether they are following the opening principles. Here you will see all the opening principles are getting followed in a very simple manner. Now see, we want to double the pawns here and give white isolated pawns, and see development wise also black is better. So BD2, let's say castle and NF3. Here many people instantly go bishop C3, knight E4. See, temporarily we allowed the bishop to white, but immediately we will take on C3. Black equalizes very easily. Or else he can wait for one more move with rook E8. So bishop C3, knight E4, QC2, rook E8. Like he waits here instead of taking instant NC3. After E3, knight takes C3, queen C3 and D6. Bishop can go to G4. Bishop can go to F5, Bishop F3 followed by QG4 is another plan. Black has a marginal edge over there. Let's go to the next popular line, which usually weaker players choose E3, or sometimes a player who has a preparation in French exchange they can also choose, because after C, ED, D5 we reach the position of French exchange actually, which can come from the move order E4, E6, D4, D5. ED5, C4, NF6, we get to the same position. Okay, and same can happen from Scandinavian defense also. E4, D5, E takes D5, NF6, C4, E6, D4 and E takes D5. We get this same position. In Scandinavian I am going to discuss all these lines. So let's see NC3 now and B4. Black's play is very simple. See, this C4 line in French exchange is not a great one. Black just develops castle, RE8, bishop G4, knight C6. All the natural squares are occupied by black pieces. So see, let's say NF3. Some people do BG5 very early also, which is also bad, in order to take CD5. Castle, and now see, BG5 and BE2 are two options. Let's see, BG5, BG4, C takes D5, trying to gain the pawn, but here there is a very nice and simple tactic. RE8 check, BE2, bishop F3. White's pawn structure is ruined, and not only that, after GF, queen D5, you see that it's a double attack on G5 and F3. So after BF6, queen F3, there is big trouble. C3 attacked, F6 attacked, H1 attacked, and after rook G1, either bishop takes C3, BC, or else just queen F6. And we see that black is almost winning, we can say, on a +4 white king placing. So finally let's go to the main move, castle BE2, and after BE2 DC. This is a general idea. As soon as the bishop moves, we take DC4, forcing the bishop to waste a move. So sooner or later white will have to capture BC4 and we may get the same position. Let's say BC4 right now, or castle NC6 then also BC4. So BG4, castle NC6. We couldn't take D4 here because BF3, queen F3, QD4 allows QB7. So first NC6, and now if white tries to play D5, he loses the pawn by force. B3 is forced. Let's look at D5 first. After D5, BF3, queen F3, knight E5, double attack on queen and bishop. Only move queen E2, and see after knight c4, qc4, bc3, we see that d5 is gone. After bc, queen d5, qc7, then rook c8, qg3 and e4. See, the initiative is totally in black's favor. Rook c3 is coming if the queen moves to the third rank. Otherwise, in some cases, knight c3 also. Black is almost winning. So he should do the move bishop e3, and here bd6 is played by some players, but I like bishop c3 bc, and knight can be planted to either e4 or d5. Many feel it's not much here, but see, after knight e4, we are threatening queen f6 and we would spoil white's pawn structure on the f3 square. White has double bishops, but one of the bishops suffers. And the other plan is nd5. Once I had a game where opponent played bd5, qd5 and I came in a winning position, because soon we take on f3, rooks come e8, d8, knight goes a5, c4, and it's a knight against bad bishop endgame. Pawn will be on c6. So almost winning position for black. So now let's go to the other popular line, d5. Many stronger players choose this line because simply see, white gets space and white seems to be somewhat better. But the problem is, see, the f1 bishop has really become a bad bishop. So now see, bc5 better than bb4, I suppose. And now see, there are three ways to continue: nc3, nf3 and bg5. bg5 is outright blunder. nf3 can be met by e4. Generally nc3 or e3 should be played. So firstly, now bg5 loses on the spot. See, after bg5 there comes either knight e4 or bf2. Knight e4, if bd8 then bf2 mates. So be3 perhaps forced, and after be3, fe, queen h4 check, g3, knight g3. It's game over. nf3 can be just met by queen h6. So white should play nc3 here, and now castle, slightly better than committing d6, nf3, d6. Some people play d6 first, not committing castle. Some people prefer castle first. So I generally do castle first. And here three options are there. Again bg5, e4 and e3. See, e4 is outright mistake. Look at that bishop, totally blocked by the e4 and c4 pawns, and here there is a small tactic in g4, and see, there is nothing. To save the pawn on f2, b3 can be met by b3 or ne3, and white loses a pawn at the reach. So black is again, see, almost winning. So bg5 now, and here I suggest the move e4. There can be other ways also. Just rook e8, there is a way to get rid of the pin. Play rook e8, knight d7, knight f8, knight g6 and h6. Bishop can't go to h4. Slow plan, but very interesting one. Or else just play e4 instantly, and now see, white knight is forced to go to d4. Otherwise bf2 followed by knight g4 check and the bishop is lost. So knight d4 and knight e4 you must have known by now. Knight e4, bd8, bf2 mates, knight d4, and now small trap h6. Forcing the bishop to leave this pin now, because if bh4 then e3, very strong move. Fe, positional sacrifice it is. And after either re8 or nd7, see, nd7, knight is heading to e5. If h3 then re8, and see, we are attacking e3, that is b4. Let's stop it by a5. And now see, either we take e3 instantly, or else we play knight to e5 and attack c4. qd2 can be met by knight e5. We can get rid of this pin by knight g6 next move, or we can do g5 followed by nh5. So this position is also, we can say, good for black. See, queen c2, knight e5, or maybe rook e3. So white should play e3 perhaps, and after e3 I like the move c6. We can also do b4, after which we plan to take on c3, and then after bishop c3, queen c3, we break the position with c6, dc, knight c6. And black is absolutely, we can say, in a fantastic state. Bishop pair is there, but see, both bishops are stuck. So black is somewhat better here. I personally like the move c6, and once I had a game where opponent played bd3 and I played the move b5. Idea was simple. If dc, then first I go bc4, bishop c4 and knight c6. Get all my development completed. Center will be mine. I will threaten to go d5 soon. So my opponent went with cb, I played cd5, and he played nd5, bishop e4, to which I played nb6 and bishop 8, knight 8. My position was clearly better. And if bh7 sack here, then king h7, qd5, trying to trap this rook. See, very unnatural way to collect the rook, because white is way behind in development. here comes the very simple QE7. See, Queen A8 allows BB7 and the Queen is trapped. So with this we complete the main three lines. Now we have the fourth one, which is usually chosen by stronger players. They play the move NF3, trying to transpose two openings with the color reversed. As soon as we play E4, the structure will resemble French defense reversed. And see, I think black should accept the bet and play in a gambit style. See, E4, Knight D2, even though move E3 is considered great, E3, FE, D5, it would be a good positional play. And after D5 CD, black should not cover on D5 but just play BD6. Idea is simple, complete the development, play ND7, NB6, ND5. E4 should be protected very well. Right now white will first do E3, stopping black C3. And after castle, NC3 puts pressure on E4. So now black goes rook E8. It's important to protect the strong point on E4. Now Queen C2, bishop F5, and white has two ways. Either he can play bishop to E2 or he can play bishop to C4 and protect the pawn on D5. If bishop is kept on E2, then just ND7, Knight B6 and Knight D5. Black collects the pawn and is somewhat better. So white often goes with the move BC4 and now see ND7. If white does nothing here, then black has the plan of going NF8, NG6, NH4, which I had done in one of my blitz games. And if white plays castle here, then comes bishop H2 check. The famous Greek gift sacrifice with color reversed, and see black is winning. King H2, Knight G4, there are two options. If King G1, then black wins after Queen H4, Rook D1, Queen F2 check, KH1. This is a typical pattern. Queen H4 check, KG1, Queen check, King F1, Queen check, KE2, QG2 check, KE1, Queen F2, checkmates. And after KG3, which is almost forced, black has the typical way, QG5. We can see that the threat is Knight E3 now, and to which there are hardly any ways. One is F4 and other is Knight takes E4. If Knight E4, then there is a small tactic, BE4, NE4, Rook E4, Queen E4, then Knight F6 check, and the Queen is lost. So after QG5, if F4, then black generally has the play QG6 followed by Knight E3, but in this case he has QH5 because there is no Rook H1. So see, next move QH2 would be checkmate, and this is winning for black. Also it should be noted that the E3 pawn is hanging. So with this we completed all the variations which are mostly of practical use. I hope you found something new from the lesson. Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.